Hi, welcome in. Today I'm going to share with you 9 ways that I stay motivated to stick to a no buy or a low buy. I hope that sounds really good to you, and if you do like mindful consumerism and project planning and beauty content, I'd love for you to subscribe. Earlier in July, I did a big birthday haul, and after I got everything, I started to feel buyer's fatigue and kind of guilt, honestly. When I took a look at my makeup collection, I really started to feel guilty about all the things that I really love and I don't use as often as I want to because I keep bringing new things in. I placed myself on a no buy so that really I could focus on using the things that I have for a certain period of time and giving the love to my new things and my old things. If you've ever done a no buy, you know that they can go really well at the beginning. Right now, I'm fresh on a no buy and I'm motivated. I can look at the mini Natasha Denona rose palette and look at that and still stay pretty straight on my no buy. For now, I can look at the new Sydney Grace palettes that have been released and think to myself, okay, I can wait on those. But what happens when you're in the 9th hour of your no buy and you're so close? Like for me, I'm going to be done in November. So what happens when October comes and I am really itching for something and there's going to be a really big sale or whatever? How do you stay motivated during those trigger times like the Sephora sale and the Ulta sale or the brand sales? How do you stay motivated to stick to your no buy or your low buy so that you can reach your goals, whether it's a financial goal and you're trying to save money, or whether it's just like me, an accumulation goal where I'm trying to accumulate a little bit less right now so that I can use and love all of the things that I already have. Whatever the reason for your no buy, financial accumulation or others, there are things that you can do to stay motivated. I'm going to share today 9 things that keep me motivated and sticking to my low buy or a no buy if I'm on it. I have my daughter's phone today, so if you see me looking down, that is my notes. I'm going to start with number 1. And the first thing that I find the most motivating whenever I am trying not to buy anything is to rediscover old favorites. Doing something like a shop my stash or looking at the back of your makeup drawer. I've seen Emily Noel do things like that where she did a video on using things that were in the back of her drawer that she had kind of forgotten about. When you're on a no buy is a great time to be able to rediscover those things that you once loved. The second thing that really keeps me motivated and sticking to my no buy goals is to try different makeup trends that use what I already have in a new and fresh way. For example, recently I did some sort of an attempt using the boyfriend blush trend, and I tried different brow techniques and I tried a little bit different eyeshadow or mascara placement. All of that was really kind of fun because I was able to still use the products that I have, but because I used them in a different way, I was able to feel like it was new. You know, that newness came from the technique that I used instead of the product that I used. Number 3 is something that I tried last year when I was on a no buy last year. And it is to look up YouTube videos for products that you own, to look up tutorials, to see how other content creators and makeup artists have used something that you already own, like an eyeshadow palette. This is a new palette to me, and this Natasha Denona Yucca palette. I can go on YouTube and I can look up, and I'm wearing it today, but I just kind of came up with that on my own, but I can go into YouTube and I can watch other creators use this in ways that I wouldn't have even ever thought of. And last year I kind of did a little bit of a series on like who wore it better. I tried to recreate looks from some of my favorite YouTubers using eyeshadow palettes that I owned. And of course, they did a much better job creating their look than I did recreating it, but it was still really fun to think about an eyeshadow palette in a whole new way, because content creators, especially the really big ones, are really creative and they think about makeup in a different way than I do. And so that's always really motivating too. It gives you fresh eyes and a fresh look and a whole new perspective on something that you already own. Number 4 is a really big one, and it might be a little bit of a touchy subject, I feel like, but for me it's really important. It is to avoid the triggering influencers. Be careful about what kind of social media you consume during this no buy period or low buy period that you have set for yourself. I try to avoid a lot of videos that have to do with hot new releases and must-haves from certain creators that put out that kind of content a lot. When I'm really vulnerable, like when I'm on a no buy and I really don't want to know what's out there, I just don't watch it. Because honestly, when I'm thinking about some of my favorite creators that I love, some of them are really good at their job at making makeup and makeup products sound like you have to have it, and like it is the best thing since sliced bread, and if you don't get this, your life's just not going to be the same. Some of them are very, very good at that, and that is their job, and so there's no like hate or shame towards that. But me as a social media consumer, I have to recognize that that is a trigger for me and avoid that trigger when I need to avoid it. And when I'm ready to consume that content and watch those videos and without being tempted, then I feel free to do that. So I'm not saying that that kind of content is bad. I'm just saying that I avoid it when I know that I need to. Something that I have discovered, like who are those creators for me, is when I'm watching their video and I immediately get my Ulta and Sephora app ready to start adding things to my loves list or my cart so that I can save it for later. Those are the ones that I know, I need to avoid them when I'm trying not to spend a lot of money. So that's just the tip. Maybe you can recognize that within yourself using that tip. Which leads me to the 5th way that I stay motivated and stay strong on a no buy, and that is quite possibly to delete the Ulta or Sephora app so that you're not even tempted to look to see what the sales are. You're not even tempted to look to see what is new at the store. If those apps are tempting to you and you can't stay away from them, then you might want to consider doing a fast from those apps and deleting them off of your phone or whatever device that you use during this period of time when you're vulnerable and susceptible to giving into purchasing. My 6th thing is something that I find hopeful, and it is to create a wish list. Recently on Instagram, when Natasha Denona released that really cute mini rose palette, I decided, hey, I can't get this right now, but I really like it and I might get it one day. So let me create a highlight of all of the palettes that come out and maybe the blushes that come out, to save that to a wish list on my highlights so that I can look back on it later, and when I'm ready to buy, I can take a look at that wish list and think, do I still want these particular items? Because sometimes you'll find when you put something on a wish list that a couple months later you don't really love it as much as you thought that you did. So if you find that you're consuming that influencing content of new products and new releases and you've added it to your wish list, kind of just leave it there for a little while. Leave it there for a month. And then go back later and still see if it gives you all those butterflies. And if it does, great, buy it when you're ready to buy. But if you're like, if the love has kind of died down and you're not really wanting it anymore, then that's a great sign for you to go ahead and just delete it. And then you won't have that buyer's regret because you waited a little while. The 7th thing that could keep you really motivated if you're susceptible to purchasing things when you're on a no-buy is related to eyeshadow palettes, and kind of along the lines of looking up old tutorials. You could do like a random eyeshadow bingo, and that will get you out of your rut of just going to like your same basic shades, and it might push you to use some of your more fun shades in an eyeshadow palette. And that's another way to be able to look at something that you already own in a new and fresh way. And you could even like combine different palettes. You could take 2 palettes and randomize numbers between each palette to see what you come up with. So you can just rotate through your eyeshadow palette collection in that way. And similarly to that is something that I've been doing quite often this year, and that is pairing blushes together to create a whole new blush. I have been taking, for example, like I'm working on this blush right now from Rare Beauty. So what I would do is then pair this blush with, you know, another blush, and then pair this blush with the third blush, and well, you know, and so on, so that I'm still using all of the makeup that I have, but I'm not getting the same look and the same effect every time that I get ready. If I use this orange blush every single day on its own, I'm gonna get tired of it. But when I use this orange blush with a mauve blush or a purple blush, I get a whole new experience, and the joy that I'm using things instead of them collecting cobwebs and getting dusty in my little makeup drawers back there. And the last tip that I have that helps me, and I've kind of started doing this again, I do this like once a year, is unsubscribing from email lists or text message lists that promote sales or promote the opportunity for you to be able to make a purchase. If those things are overwhelming in your inbox or in your, you know, text message inbox, then just go ahead and unsubscribe. It takes a couple of quick clicks and just a few minutes of your time, and you'll be able to not get those messages anymore. And then you won't know when Charlotte Tilbury is having a sale, or you won't know when, for example, Ulta is, you know, 10 times the points on something. That's what really gets me, is when Ulta has 10 times the points on a purchase. And then when I was really close to an Ulta, I could buy like a couple of things that are pretty inexpensive and get 10 times points. But all of those little purchases like that add up after a while, and they're not helping me reach my goals. So those are the 9 things that I came up with that I find very helpful to me, keep me motivated on a no-buy. Please let me know in the comments, what things do you do to stay motivated on a no-buy or a low-buy? How do you reach your goals? I will see you in another video. Bye.